Well, hey guys, alrighty, so I'm back. I'm excited. I will say a little bit of a struggle getting this video set up, so let's hope that that's not how the whole video is going to go. Hopefully we are smooth sailing now. Just had some issues getting the right turner out for turning my tumbler. The whole ordeal. Had things fallen, dropped my cup, you know, minor things. So, anywho, it's all good, all good. We're gonna cruise on through with this. So, one thing with the cup, I want you guys to know, I have a Mod Podge version of this, like a spray can of Mod Podge, but I use this Rust-Oleum Ultra Clear, or Satin Clear, I guess, Ultra Cover. Just clear spray paint, basically. I did a really light coat this morning on this, just to basically make the top layer of the glitter just fully stick. We're going to resin this, and then we're going to do another little layer of glitter, just to help with our ripple effects that I have kind of going from the tacky paper not laying flat. So I told y'all I wasn't really worried about that, and I'm not, but I don't love the look it's giving it, so we're going to fix that. I'm going to show you how. So I did do that, let it sit for, goodness, almost 12 hours, so over 12 hours probably. Then have our Artist Resin medium viscosity. So we're going to be mixing this. I don't have an exact math for my tumblers. I'm sure those who do tumblers all the time probably have an exact math of how they calculate and do their cups. I just don't, because I kind of just roll with it. So, I believe this is a 30-ounce skinny. I should have looked on the website to see what size it was that I got, but I didn't. So I think, and do not quote me on this because this is an ultimate guess, I think it's like, if it's a 30-ounce, you'd want to do, I can't remember if it's 10 over or 10 under. So we'd want 40, basically equivalent of 40 to go over this. But I really probably don't want that much. But I plan to have a little extra for other pours or projects that I'm going to try to maybe do with this. So I'm not going to be exact math on what I need for this, because I will do a few other things. So if that makes sense. So basically I'm not stressing over how much I really need for this. As long as I have some overage, I'm happy. So I like to pour my B first. So this is part B. You'll notice it's a little bit yellow. It's fine. It'll clear up when we mix. I'm just, for easy sake, it's easy for me to just do 100 ml of each, because that takes me to the top of my cup. And then I'm not doing a ton of back and forth guessing. So I have the smaller cups going into a big cup. I like my plastic stir sticks. So basically I'm going to get as much out of there as possible. You'll notice I have gloves on. That is because when I work with resin, I want gloves. Protect my skin and my hands from that resin. Because you are mixing a chemical, basically. Not basically, you are. So, and some people can be allergic to resin, so let's not test that out today, is my theory. Oh, did I not grab a second cup to pour my A into? Well, now that might be downright silly. Before I forget that this is B's lid, I'm going to go ahead and pop that back on and put my lid on. I have put the wrong lids on before. That's always fun, because it will seal up a little bit. And if that happens, get a fresh cup for this, because apparently that was the only one of that I had. I told my husband tonight, I was like, one day I'm going to have my ideal craft space. And that's going to be that I have a station for everything. Instead, I have this one area that I can work in. So anytime I like switch what I'm doing, I have to move everything. Like, okay, tonight we're doing Tumbler and regular resin, or not regular resin. We're doing a medium viscosity resin. So I need these items. And then when I do UV resin, I need the UV light and the UV things. It's like, but I have to move that out of my space and go back and forth. So anyway, it's been a whole thing tonight. Bear with me with it. So yeah, that would be, I didn't have a mixing cup quite handy because it's over in its storage spot, because otherwise it's too messy over here, which it's too messy as is, but it's all good. All right, part A, back to what we're doing, back to our regular programming. Part A is very thick. You could put your part A in a bath, like a warm water bath. Obviously don't pour the bottle, but put your bottle before you pour it into a warm water bath. That will thin it up a little. Make it easier to pour, if you would like that. To me, it's an inconvenience to have to deal with. Taking it, getting it into warm water, setting it in the sink. I don't have a sink in my space, so it just would be a pain for me. And that lid is going to be all kinds of sticky, because my gloves are already sticky. So, when your gloves are sticky, paper towel, a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and wipe them off. And then I'll also be able to wipe this off, so that next time I open that, I'm not sticking to it. Or if I were to move my bottle without gloves, I'm not sticking to it. And I'm going to go ahead and put my, you'll notice I put tape on the top. That's so that I can keep my bottles separated. Whew. Doing good tonight, y'all. So that I can keep my bottles separated and not accidentally grab thin and medium, because you don't want to mix the wrong ones, and you want part A and B. So that's just my way of doing it. You want to be accurate on your ratio of whatever it is. So look at your resin. This is Counterculture DIY. This is not a sponsored ad, but if you know me at all or have watched any of my videos, you know that I love them. This medium viscosity is great. It has a lot of versatility to it. So if you're starting out with resin and you want a solid product, something to learn with, yes, it feels very expensive, but resin is expensive. But if you want something that will allow you to do molds as well as tumblers, medium is the way to go, because it gives you that versatility. The other thing is, it's a little bit cooler than I would normally like it to be outside for me to be doing resin like this, but medium viscosity isn't as affected by the cold as others are. So, kind of a twofold. And then comes the fun. We stir. If you've watched me do a regular pour before, I call this regular pouring, whatever you want to call it, but if you've seen, I'm not overly, what do I want to say, like, some people are like, stir really slow even motions, don't bring your stir stick up, like, and that's all good and fine, but really, it's to prevent the bubbles. But I'm not super worried about the bubbles, because it's all going to be hidden in that glitter. You're not going to see it. Now, if this is a clear, straight tumbler that didn't have a lot of pattern behind it, then yeah, maybe bubbles would be more. And truthfully, we're going to let this set up. We're going to get a lot of it out. Newbie thing, don't use wooden stir sticks. Some actually artists do fine with them, and that's great. But I've heard that they create more bubbles because there can be air in the wooden stick, and so you end up with more bubbles. And truthfully, I would say it's probably true. I didn't, when I started out, I used wood stir sticks. And then I learned pretty quickly to switch to plastic or silicone. These are by Counterculture DIY. They're a plastic reusable stir stick. They also make these ones. It's a silicone, a little bit thicker. You can see all the resin still on it. I have a hard time even getting them clean. So I just don't use them as much as I used to. But they're good, especially with this much resin. The plastic stir stick is a little flimsy, but that one's a lot better in that realm. It's just harder to clean. So I've learned how to do it with this. But I would say that, like I said, it wasn't like, I didn't sit here and do a comparison and a side by side. But I would say overall, probably, that was pretty good. Some people say stir 3 minutes, some people say 4 minutes, whatever that is. I think find what works for you. I make sure that I go both directions. I make sure that I scrape the bottom. I make sure that I scrape all the way around the edges. I scrape my tool and scrape that back in. Really mix it up. For me, it is all about the look. So when I pull that resin up, I shouldn't see any white strings. I should see clear. Yes, I've got bubbles. Those used to stress me out. And I see a lot of people stress about them. And they use a resin pot or air pressure pot or something. I don't got any of that. So I'll just roll with it. But this looks really good. And I do it by feel. Like I can tell that it's pretty mixed. So I'm going to let this essentially sit. That's going to help some of those bubbles pop up. And I like to kind of just plop it on my table. And that's going to help shift some of those bubbles on up as well. Then I like to keep the same gloves going. So to do so, it's all about cleaning them off. And that's using the rubbing alcohol and paper towel. And that will allow us to do other things. One thing, I'm just going to move this over here. I don't want to get that on there. So there we go. And I didn't want to move it over here because I don't have the silicone mat on that part. And I just didn't want resin to get on the table. One thing I was going to show y'all is you can see where this tape is kind of hanging over. And right here hanging over. So I was going to take my X-Acto knife and just trim that up. We're going to cover the bottom with some glitter at some point. I haven't decided exactly what stage I will, but I will. And I could do this. I might have to wait to do this once the resin's on. I just was trying to prevent myself from having to do a ton of cleanup. But it just might have to be, these might be better. Yeah. These scissors are like a go-to. I got them, I think at like Meijer or something on clearance, a pack of them. One, I love the color, but two, dang. You don't realize how dull your scissors are until you get a fresh new pair of scissors and realize that, oh, I've been cutting stuff with super dull. Now this part like rolled or folded over, so it might be good. Yeah, I think it's good. It's folded over. Basically, I just want that to be as far down and not have resin go up and under that. So, okay. That's good. Some people let their resin set 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Some people have it down to a science. I probably should, but I haven't worked that out just fully yet. On my side, I haven't done enough tumblers either for me to figure that part out. Same goes for molds. You would set it for so long, or put it in a pressure pot and pull the bubbles out or something. But let me just show you guys if you can see all those bubbles that are coming to the surface, which is awesome. Biggest thing you want to watch, and it's just all about feel and working with it, is if this starts to get really hot, we're starting to have a flash cure. We don't want to do that. We do not want a flash cure. So some people will hit their resin right away with heat. I have found personally, for my sake, going with heat right away heats this up so fast that I risk having a flash cure. It is not fun. It will make you cry. So, don't do it. I just, now that it's sat and some of those bubbles have come up, I'm going to go ahead and just quickly hit the top, pop those ones that are right there on the surface. I will hit the bottom with just a little, try to keep moving to get that, to pop those up, those bubbles to the surface, basically. And I didn't fully go over this with Counterculture's resin. For at least this resin, the medium viscosity, it's a 1:1 ratio. You'll find resins that are 1:2, or they're it's it's by volume or by weight. It's all about determining what that resin uses. So I use Counterculture DIY. I've used a couple other versions. This is the one that I found that I really enjoy and like. It gives me a crystal clear result. I like it. I love it. At this point, I don't know that I would switch, just because I've kind of got my system with it. So people will say, well, you got to read your label. True, you do need to read your label. But when I'm speaking, I'm talking about Counterculture resin. So for it is 1:1. So that's why, oh, I'm going to sneeze. Yeah. Sorry, I was holding that one in, so it came out weird. So that's why I went to 100 on each cup. 100 of A, 100 of B. Make sure you do A and B. I've seen people accidentally do 2 A's or 2 B's, and their resin does not set up, and that's why. While we're waiting for this resin to continue to do what it needs to and bring those bubbles to the surface, which won't be much longer, I'm going to go ahead and clean these 2 cups that I poured it in with silicone. If it's mixed resin, you can actually leave the resin in and pull that mixed cured resin right out of the cup if you would like. Personally, I have found that a little bit of rubbing alcohol with a paper towel cleans my silicone cups the best. So I just do it while it's wet. Now these 2 cups would not have set up because one's A and one's B. That's exciting, because we're going to bring this close to the camera so that you can watch as I pop them. If the camera can stay in focus. It's like, ah. Alright, so we're really close, I feel like. So, let's see. You can go about cleaning up a little bit. You can prep more of your space if you need to while you're waiting for that to set up. So, I'm going to bring our turner over here. This turner I got off of Amazon. I've got a few different ones. I have a crafty bestie who decided resin was not her jam, but she loves what I've been doing, so she gifted me a few turners. Yeah. This one, though, I bought off of Amazon. It's worked really well. My bestie gave me one that's a 4-cup turner. It's really nice, but where I only have the 1 cup, it's kind of silly to pull out the 4-cup turner. So, and some people have fancy ones that they could just snap this bar right on, and I probably could put this one on there, but I'd have to like unscrew, screw back in. I'll deal with all that. So, and right now I can move it without. I'm wondering if I'm going to need a different. This sponge is a little small on the small side. So, hang on, we're going to get a better one. Okay. So, pulled a couple different ones, but I think they're going to still, like that one's massive. And that one's relatively the same size. The other option is this slides into here, but I think then it becomes, yeah, like that size, and I don't need. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get that one in there. Now this one, yeah, let's. If you want to know, have I ever gotten one of these stuck in here? Oh yeah, that's fun. That's all fun. I have. And I got it out, too. So, it's possible. And this may not go on because of me shoving it in there. It's possible to get it stuck because I'm going to do it tonight. Yeah, I don't like that because it's not going in the hole. Okay. So, have you ever gotten one stuck? Sure did. Did it while we were on camera. So, might have to remove my gloves. Truthfully, this cup I can just reach in and whew. It's coming, y'all. It's just I feel like I can't grip. There we go. Okay, one more thing we're going to try. Just because I think that will give us really good support. The problem is just getting it on, and I know I'm bouncing, y'all. But bear with me. Oh yeah, I like that much better. It's going to hold that a lot better. Okay. So, look at that. So I always like to go ahead and do a couple turns on it just so that I can see how it's kind of staying. Is it level? Is it not? It's not 100% level. I think it's hard to get it like perfectly level across the board, especially because it's slanted. You'll notice it flipped directions that it's spinning. This particular, well, most tumbler spinners will spin opposite directions. It's not every time, like if I turn this off, turn it back on, you see it's still coming this way. Personally, I like it going away from me for when I put resin on. Just what I like. So I'll keep playing with it. Of course, the one way that I want it to go, it's not going to go. Let's just give it a minute. Come on. There we go. Okay. Okay. Now, this part I do get messy. It does get a little messy. And truthfully, look at that. It's looking really good. I am. Goodness. You know, you try to have everything you need / want during a video, and then you don't end up with it. Okay. I just wanted a cup so that I can pour some of this into, because I plan to use any extra with other things. I don't want to keep dipping my fingers into this, even though it already got some glitter in it just from... Can I just show y'all something though? Look how clear. The camera is having a hard time, but that is so clear. Yes, there are some bubbles in there, but the clarity of this resin. Whoa. Okay. Enough of that bragging. Gloves. It's the only way to do this. And you'll notice there's a couple patches I'm like, kind of missed some glitter or did something funky coloring. Again, this is why we're doing this, and we're going to put another layer on. Like there's a patch right here that's kind of weird in the blue. So, no right or wrong way. Find what works for you. Basically, I'm just wanting to put a little bit on and take my fingers and bring it with me, towards me. That's why I like it spinning away from me, because this feels more natural. Now, if it feels more natural to go this way, then do that. Spin it that way. That's fine. Resin in particular, at least with counterculture, it's self-leveling. So basically you're going to rub it on here. Your fingers aren't a level, so you're going to have divots that create with your fingers. But as this spins, that resin is naturally going to level based on the spinning cycle. Look how beautiful that's already looking. Just in this section that's done compared to this section. I know it's hard to see on the camera. I swear. I'm going to tell my husband to come get him. Tracks. That's enough. I know, that's enough. But it's really shiny here. And it's very matte still down here. Which is funny because it's glitter. But this is not really matte. But I can already see a difference. So it's just slow and steady. I just pour a little bit out. Kind of make myself a trail. Oops. A little too much. Yeah, I don't think he's going to get to be able to be out and loose with so sorry if you heard a random voice. My husband's on the phone apparently. So if you heard that, please ignore. Alright. I don't know how well the volume or voice would have carried. We're going to have lots of resin. This resin is getting warm. I can feel it in my gloves, through my gloves. Not in my gloves, but through my gloves. So I would say that we still have time to work with it, but our time is becoming more limited. Once I get that first layer on across it, I like to go top to bottom, bottom to top. Just making sure that I've gotten everything. And because I did spray the Rust-Oleum on there, I'm not super worried about the bleeding of the glitter. Plus, if a speck of blue or pink or purple get in the white, which I see a piece, it's going to get covered up and blended again anyway. So, this needs a little bit more. Whew, that got really warm. Let me feel this. Okay, that feels okay. Could just be that because I put the resin in this little cup, just could be that this resin's getting warm. And you do have a limited amount of time to work with resin. I'm going to go ahead and put just a coat on our bottom. So limited amount of time to work with it, But what I would say is, don't get yourself stressed out. Take a deep breath. and just keep going. You know, if you're going to get stressed about it, then you're going to be worked up. And that's going to make it miserable for you. And then it doesn't become fun. So I'm just doing a really thin up and down string here. And that will self-level and blend in. So I'm not worried about it. But I just want to get a little bit thicker coat so that hopefully I've covered most of my ripple bubbles. Reason why I put this down, yes, I have a mat down, but I try to protect my bases of my turners if possible. So that's going to catch the drips that I made. It's going to catch anything that drips off of the cup that's too thick. So yeah, the bottom definitely has bubbles going on. This glove is super messy. I'm done, most likely mostly done with that part. So I'm going to take this glove right on off and put a new one on. Just because I'm taking the time to clean that glove and get it to where I could touch other stuff would be way too long. Now, going to mainly my bottom, just because it's got a lot of bubbles. Again, I'm not going to stress too much because I am going to put glitter on the bottom. So that will get hidden. But I definitely can see them. And then I just like to do a real quick, let it do at least one full turn with me hitting it with the heat. I don't want too much. If you get too hot, you're going to start to create divots and craters, and you don't want that. Okay. So that's literally it. And I'm just feeling this resin. It still feels okay in there. Now, what I'm going to do, and ideally I wouldn't move this now that it's on here, but because I want to show you guys a couple pours, I am going to move it back. Sorry, I bumped y'all. Again, if I had a more designated workspace or ability. Okay. It's all good. Okay. Alright. I'm going to do a couple here. Now, this one is getting warm. It's actually going to be just fine though. There's not much left in this little cup, but I don't like to waste. This is just a paper cup that you would get like at Walmart. It's like a little paper Dixie cup for your bathroom type thing. It's perfect because I'll just throw it away when done. Okay. Which I could go ahead and throw it in a garbage can, but I don't have a great, I just have a Walmart bag right now. So I don't want to throw it in that. Alright. This is a ring holder. I'm not really sure what I want to do fully with these. Other than I'm just going to kind of go with it. Oops. Got it on my paper towel. That alcohol smells stronger. The alcohol smells stronger than the actual resin. Oh, is that what I want? This one. So these are alcohol inks. It's good to shake them. They settle. This one is not shaking very well. I don't know if it's going to come out white or if it's going to be... Oh yeah. So the white is a sinker. So it's going to help that sink down into the resin. I don't want to do too much more because alcohol ink can thin your resin and make it not cure. So, gotta be a smidge careful. And then, I'm gonna try something. I don't know if this is gonna work or not. So, this is an orchid that I dried in some silicone. And I'm gonna try to put it in here. We're gonna see if this will work. And it's probably gonna need to have a couple pours with it. So this will be pour 1. Try not to break it as I put it in here. The reason why I say a couple pours is probably because it's I'm afraid if I don't finish filling this up, that alcohol ink is gonna protrude my orchid. So we're just gonna roll with it. Oh, we're gonna roll with it. Just based on how it's looking on the outside, to me, it looks like the alcohol ink is rising as I poured the resin. So I want to be able to see that orchid, and I'm afraid if I didn't finish pouring, I was gonna and bring that alcohol ink further up, that alcohol ink would be all around my orchid. So, you know, that's what happens when we're experimenting. I can see some bubbles in there. So, quick shot of the heat. This is also rubbing alcohol. That'll also pop some bubbles. I definitely got some bubbles going. Okay. And then I'm just popping it up, trying to pop some of those bubbles up. This orchid is also floating, which I kind of expected it would. And then I'm going to just swirl the inks around. Maybe that orchid's going to just keep going to the top there. And actually, there's enough room. I'm not overly concerned about ruining these. I mean, they're pretty, but they dried a little bit brown. So that's why I'm using them to experiment. And that petal fell off, but it won't be in there. Tracks, that's enough, buddy. I thought my husband was going to take them to bed, but I think he went and let them go potty and then didn't take them to bed with him. Alrighty. So we got some bubbles rising, which is good. I want them to rise. So we can go ahead and pop them. There we go. I saw it. I was like, there's a big old bubble and it just needs to pop. And it did. It popped on me. I don't know if I'm going to regret this or not, but again, this is an experiment. Might work, might fail terribly. We might love it, we might hate it. We are going to roll with it. As I would say, rolling, rolling, rolling. It is what it be. Folks, it is what it be. I still have some resin in here. I think I might just go ahead and... Now they're gonna play, goodness. I'll probably let this one set. My concern is it's a pretty deep mold. Now they say 2 inches. Now it's deeper than 2 inches. It's not 2 inches wide, so I'm hoping, I don't know what's gonna help us. I love what this purple and teal are doing right here. But I'm gonna just do a little swirl with them. And a little spritz of that. Woo! That was close, y'all. Close. Yeah, I think we are going to leave that like that. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. Go. Don't touch it. Just leave it alone. Sometimes I get to where I start manipulating them a little too much, and yeah. Of course, I would love to a petal. Oh, we'll do that. We'll slide him in right there. Oh yeah, it still looks really good. Okay. I love what the blue and purple kind of did swirling here. There's a little bubble. And probably air pockets that the petals created, be my guess. So sometimes you want to squeeze your mold. Just kind of shift those up. Popping it down. That's going to help shift any bubbles up as well. Hopefully not being your piece. I've been able to recover most bubbles as far as like if I end up with a funky bubble, I've been able to work it out and work around it. So, not overly, I guess, concerned. Now I did a couple orchids that I already covered in UV resin. But when I did, I didn't think about trying to make them able to go in the mold. So let's see if we can shimmy these in. They're probably going to just fall, which I'm going to just let them kind of naturally do whatever they end up doing. These are really pretty though. Like, they came out pretty. And again, these were just off my orchids. My mom loved orchids, and when she passed, that guy just fell funny. Hang tight. Hang tight with that story. I said I was going to just let them kind of do their thing, but that one fell where its pretty side landed on top of this one's pretty side, and I don't want them. Oh, let's take the stem out. And I want their pretty sides kissing. Yeah. I think I got a hair in there. Oh, it's a round. Okay. That was fun. Like, sure enough. Okay, can you get over there? This is kind of like a puzzle game. Like, you move this way, you move that way. I might not have the best silicone brush. Yeah, maybe that's how they're just meant to be. They're now laying facing up. That's pretty. That resin is getting really sticky, y'all. So my work time is definitely pretty well shot. Meaning I need to do what I'm going to do and leave it, kind of thing. thickened up too. If we were doing a coaster, this would be the time we'd want to pour for a blooming coaster, but probably a little bit before this. It's a little thicker than I like to work with, but that's okay. So this won't get all the way full just yet, and that's fine. Again, this is more of just experimenting. So these orchids, my mom loved, going back to that, my mom loved orchids, and when she passed away, I've never been able to really keep an orchid alive. You know, I've always had issues. Like, they bloom, they're beautiful, and then I over or underwater them, or a combination thereof, and it becomes just a disaster with them. So, anywho, when she passed away, I was like, I even sent the orchids that had been in my mom's room, like in her room, with my sister, because I was like, I'll kill them. You gotta keep the last one she had alive. You'll do better with them than I will. But I wanted to honor my mom, so I actually got an orchid and bloomed beautiful, beautiful blooms. This is one of them. This is covered in UV resin that I dried. It came out so pretty. So, when this bloom, or this flower, fell off, I dried it, and then I covered it in UV resin. It's not fully covered yet, or done, but it's a start. So anywho, I have kept that plant alive, by the way. I've gotten this plant, orchid plant, and it dropped that flower, and I was like, ooh, I want to try to save it. So I put it in some flower silicone sand. That's not the proper term, y'all, but I'll put it in the link. Basically, put it in that and let it dry for several weeks. And so then, since then, I've gotten several other orchids. Maybe a little bit of obsession of mine now. And if they drop a really pretty bloom that isn't like wilted, I'll snag it and I'll throw it in the stuff to dry it up. And then basically that's what those were, and those as well. So I just thought that big one, that big purple one that I showed y'all, I covered in UV resin, and some of these small ones I covered in UV resin, but they weren't super pretty. So I just decided I'm going to use them tonight and experiment. Now, I know I told y'all bubbles don't usually bug me, but that has a lot of bubbles in it. This is getting warm. That's for sure. It's definitely setting already. So, now is cleanup time. So basically, paper towel, some rubbing alcohol. And by the way, all my orchids don't have blooms right now. My mom was really good about getting them to rebloom. So she would cut the stem that bloomed and all the blooms died. She would cut that off, and then it would eventually, she would continue to care for it and give it the proper care, and it would eventually grow a new stem and bloom. I've never been successful, but I will say my office that I work at has a beautiful sun coming into it, and when the orchid plants drops all of its flowers, all the blooms are done, I've cut the stem back, and then I take them to the office, and I have one right now that has a stem, and I'm so excited. It's got like 5 or 6 buds on it, and I can't wait for it to bloom. I'll post some pictures of it. I don't even know which plant it is. Like, I don't know what color flower I'm going to get, because I didn't keep track of that. I think I have 3 big ones right now. One is struggling. We'll say one is struggling. One's doing really good. One is struggling. And then I've got 3 bigs and 3 minis. So, pretty excited. Like, those blooms came from a mini. Alright, so I cleaned my tools with this paper towel. So it already has some resin on it. But I'm going to go ahead and get the first round out of my cup. Stella! I'm sorry, guys. I won't do this again. They will not be allowed. Even when we like all hang out in here and I'm not doing resin and everything, like, they're fine. They might bark at one person walking by and they're all cool, but they're not being cool tonight. Not at all. So I'll take that napkin though, that paper towel, and go ahead and start with my cup because it's so thick in here. I want to have that initial setup cleaned out. And then look at that. It's already pretty clean. I will do one more just to make sure. And then I'll do the outside too. And like I said, you could turn it upside down or you could just let it sit up and then peel it out. That's fine if that works for you. I've tried it and it works. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It's just not my ideal. I find I get a better clean this way. Because I still, even when I do it that way, I still feel like I need to wipe it out with alcohol. Just to ensure that it's clean for the next round. So. And I already have gloves on. I find it's just easy. Now, I do have cats, so, and just any home, you're going to have dust. I don't care how clean of a home you have, you're going to have dust. And, let's be real, this space is covered in glitter from glittering that. I found glitter under my watch band today. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I've showered. All that, and there's glitter still. So, what I do, and I'm going to shut the door so the animals don't come in here tonight. Anyway, but, I'll show you my trick. I keep a few clear tubs. It's going to be kind of hard to see, so I'm going to have to go in a way here in just a minute to catch the cup. So I'm probably going to bring it forward again a little. But I use the clear tub and just stick right over it. Some people have actual special custom covers. Maybe one day. Don't mind me. If it wasn't the dogs, it's me dropping the tote. It's all good. Maybe one day I'll have a specialized thing. But, whew, that is warm. So I would tell y'all that this is potentially going to be a fail. Because it is definitely warm. I will probably come down and actually check on this. In about 20 minutes. Resin can catch fire. So you just need to be aware of that. It's not to scare you. It's just lessons to be aware of. And as hot as this is right now, I just want to keep an eye on it. It's not smoking. It's not doing any of that. It's just really warm. So, anyway. Anywho, so I'm going to bring this back forward. But I will shut my door in my craft space. It looks like that cup is over that circle. It's not. It's plenty far away. And I'm just looking at this. I think it's flush curing. I really do. Oh, yeah. Okay. It's totally flash curing, y'all. So, the center right here, when I pushed, that's hard. Right here in the center. It's hard to tell on the camera, but that's solid. So, it is curing up and flash curing as we speak. It could ruin this mold. It's possible. It's so hot, and you see how it's like really sticky. Normally, I wouldn't mess with the resin at this point because I had it really swirled nicely. But I could tell based on the shine that there's like, it's almost like an ice cube in the middle. But it's not an ice cube. It's a resin cube. And the way the bubbles are, I could just tell that it's not. So this will probably be a fail. So it's really hot. I do not like that. Debating on what to do, y'all. I've had a flash cure before, but it happened when I was mixing it. And it's so sad because it's a lot of resin wasted. So sad. I can just tell it looks like an ice cube in there. That's because it's already solid. Wild. Wild, wild. But this resin looks good. Yeah. This one looks pretty good too. I don't think it cured up. Funky. No, it's still moving. And basically once you have a flash cure, there's not much you can do. Except be disappointed. Cry myself to sleep tonight. I just poured some rubbing alcohol in these gloves because what I'll do is I'm going to be able to wipe them clean and I'll get to use them again. As long as they don't stick to each other. Well, it's just going to be one that I'm going to watch. I won't keep recording, but I'll show you guys the outcome once it happens fully. But yeah, I was afraid of that. See, should go with your gut. Could also be, just as another side note, is I've got a couple lights. This corner is really dark, so I brought in my ring light, and then I have another light that's hot. Could just be too hot in this space, which is ironic because I said it's a little cold. Colder than I like to pour, but might end up being too hot in the space. But it's probably, it's ultimately, I think it's a combination. There's too much resin in that small of a space. Should have did this in layers, basically. That's the lesson, and I knew that. But, son of a gun, sometimes, you know, even though we work with it, you're going to have a fail every now and then. That's okay. Just is what it is. I can't change it now. But, lesson learned, y'all. Alright? Well, I will come back on. Oh, I should tell y'all, this will sit here spinning for 12 hours. So I won't touch it until in the morning. I actually will cover it up. Don't touch it. Don't mess with it. Leave it alone. Same thing with that one. I'm not going to mess with it. This one, I'm probably going to have to do something with it just because it is so hot. But for now, it's doing what it's doing. So, yeah, I'll cover it. Leave that for the morning, and then that will be rock solid. I would never touch it at this stage. It's going to be really sticky, tacky, and you're just going to make a gooey mess and end up probably having to strip it and come back to it. So, won't touch it. But anyway, hope you guys are enjoying, learning right along with me and experiencing the joys of resin. We'll see you guys again soon. Bye.